Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about the so-called Game Awards. This award show happens at the end of each year and it's becoming a little interesting and somewhat controversial this year for a couple of reasons. We previously talked about it last week when they announced a bunch of nominations for a certain video game that was very controversial earlier this year. I'm of course talking about The Last of Us Part 2 that became the super woke, super pro-progressive, girl power, pro-LGBTQ, every alphabet letter in the book kind of game that came out in the summer. And it was pretty controversial for the 6 months or so before that too. People talked about it a lot. The director of the game got woke and got into some arguments online, stuff like that. And that's why it was surprising when it came out. Most people were not really super excited about it. Some liked playing it. Some didn't even know about the drama or the stories. And I'm sure it was still a fine game. It comes from a good company who's made many successful games in the past. But the point was, Last of Us 2 was a controversial kind of game that is now getting all these awards and nominations at the Game Awards. And it's showing that the Game Awards, they're run by gaming journalists, and it shows how woke and progressive and how they like to virtue signal all the time. And there's a new move and a new update on that. Now they've announced some other people that are going to be appearing at the award show. Most specifically, most worrying is Brie Larson apparently is going to appear at the Game Awards. She is a very controversial actress too. She had a whole big controversial release last year in 2019 when Captain Marvel came out. That was similar to The Last of Us Part 2. It was like this woke kind of property that became controversial because of the creators and them arguing with the detractors, blah, blah, blah. The same kind of thing happened. And now it's happening in twofold. It's like a crossover event for woke people and woke releases. So we're going to talk about that more soon. We're going to talk about Brie Larson, the Game Awards, how award shows are silly to begin with. And this one is getting even more silly. So we'll get to that soon. But first, let's take a quick moment to check out our sponsor. Data tracking and privacy breaches are a bigger problem now than ever. That's why I do whatever I can to make sure my information online stays private and secure. And that means using a very, very good virtual private network. And the only VPN I trust and use comes from Virtual Shield. So keeping an account with Virtual Shield ensures I can hide my location online, preventing advertisers from building profiles on me and allowing me to surf the web anonymously and securely. Virtual Shield was built from the ground up with the average internet user in mind. It's fast, reliable, secure, and it's also available on your iPhone, Android, PC, Mac, or tablet device. So try Virtual Shield yourself today. And if you click the link below to this video, you'll get a free 30-day trial, which will let you experience true online protection with no risk or charges. Great, now that that's out of the way, let's turn to the Brie Larson Video Game Awards story. This is a tweet from them from the Game Awards official account. It says, Game Awards is proud to welcome Brie Larson as a presenter live next Thursday during video games' biggest night. There's Brie Larson, not looking too shabby. She's actually been in and out of the press recently. This year, she had some forays on YouTube. We talked about how she came out with some videos and tried to start a YouTube channel and got promoted by the company and all that silly stuff. Basically, she's been out of the limelight because every movie's been canceled this year for starters. Everything's different in the entertainment industry because of the pandemic. And yeah, Marvel just wrapped up things last year. There was Captain Marvel, and then the Avengers Endgame ended an era of those movies. I'm sure Brie will still come back and other characters and actors will come back. They still have the Black Widow movie that was supposed to come out this year, but now it's going to come out next year. That's still happening. But for now, we're talking about the Game Awards, which again, as I was saying at the end of the intro, gaming awards is a silly idea. You can't give awards for art. It's kind of like just weird. It's like award shows are just circle jerks. They're just people giving compliments to other people. It's just this big kind of show. People show up in suits and stuff. I'm not sure how fancy or formal the Game Awards are, but it reminds me of just like an Oscars or an Emmys or something like that. And those are actually long-running prestigious award shows that have some merit, but at the same time, those are jokes too. The Oscars are so woke. I mean, every award show is getting woke. That's the problem and what we're getting at. This is just the gaming awards version, but we've talked about the Oscars many times. There was a recent story where the Oscars even announced this year that they're going to have more inclusive requirements for movies. Like you have to have a certain number of minorities working on a movie to even be nominated. So that's kind of strange. That'll be interesting and just shows that these awards are bad. Brie Larson becoming part of this. I mean, it looks like she's just presenting an award. That's not the biggest deal. I mean, if she was hosting it, it might be a little more significant. She could just be giving out one award. It could take 5 minutes. So it's not the end of the world, but it is interesting who they choose because they also added Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot is known to be a pretty woke woke actress too. She's in the Wonder Woman movie. Wonder Woman and Brie Larson, like they're both these kinds of girl characters in different comic book universes, and they're both in this award show for some reason. I mean, it kind of makes sense when you think about it, but you got to know the context. You got to know what's going on. You got to know who is involved with what. And in this case, it's a video game award show. They're trying to make themselves more legitimate, trying to catch up with the Oscars or the Emmys, these other really woke awards. So they're signaling, they're hiring the most feminist kinds of icons they can to become presenters, getting their kind of approval, their stamp of approval. And I mean, I don't really mind Gal Gadot as much. She seems really nice. She's super hot, of course. And she does get a little bit woke sometimes. She did that woke video like earlier this year. They had this whole Imagine, I think is what they were singing. I think that came from Gal Gadot. She was in part of one of those kinds of cringy celebrity videos, but she's not as bad as Brie Larson. It's just another kind of addition to this story. And it's interesting now that I put it out there. It is interesting that she's another female feminist kind of hero in a comic book movie. Wonder Woman admittedly isn't as woke as a Captain Marvel, but it appears that the sequel might be. The first movie came out a couple years ago, did well, wasn't very political and didn't really go down the whole woke feminist thing, but the new one seems like it is. There is announcements about how the new one is coming out on Christmas. It was supposed to come out this summer, but got delayed. Now it's coming out on HBO Max in theaters at Christmas, and it's also like an anti-Trump thing, so that's not specifically woke. It's just in the same ballpark. I mean, hating on Trump is a liberal stance and a classic kind of Trump derangement stance. So the fact they put that in the movie is definitely woke adjacent. And that's interesting that this character and this actor are coming onto this game award show. There's different games here, and they're not really to do with games, which is weird. I mean, she doesn't have anything to do with games. They're just actresses. I guess they're just trying to get whatever famous people they can. But before we go any further, let's read into the story. Spider-Man Far From Home and Uncharted movie actor Tom Holland will be joined at the Game Awards 2020 next week by fellow film superstars Gal Gadot and Brie Larson. All three will present awards as part of the ceremony, but it is currently unclear if their inclusion will go any further than that. We expect Holland to drop some sort of teaser trailer for the upcoming movie based on Nathan Drake, but then Gadot could also bring with her a sweet TV spot for Christmas film Wonder Woman 1984. As for Brie Larson, she has been synonymous with Nintendo as of late, thanks to appearances in Animal Crossing New Horizons adverts, as well as her general enthusiasm for Tom Nook and Co. Maybe she'll be teaming up with popular Switch supplier once again for some sort of reveal. As for confirmed announcements so far, we know a Crimson Desert gameplay reveal is headed our way. For more information on when and where to watch the Game Awards 2020, head to the link. Will the three actors have some surprises up their sleeves? Let us know in the comments below. So this is from Twitter. This is a short little blurb about the story. I believe there's more details on the links and stuff. I kind of do want to see when and where to watch this Game Awards thing. I think it's just online. It's streaming. It's on YouTube. Okay. It looks like this Push Square website is heavily involved in the Game Awards themselves. So this is just a video about the nominees. Maybe we'll get to some of that. But for now, let's just talk about the awards again because I'm just not into it. I don't know. I mean, Brie Larson and Gal Gadot, they definitely picked some pretty ones. Brie Larson is admittedly sometimes attractive, sometimes she's not. They did try to play her down in that movie. But really, what's interesting is the woke side of this. The fact that they're giving so much love to a Last of Us Part 2 game, even though it was very much hated by a lot of people and intentionally like controversial and antagonistic to fans to make it like a news story or something. It could have just been a cool game. They could have just made a traditional sequel and done better. I guess you could give them credit for like trying something different, but it definitely didn't go over well. But these video game awards seem to be pretty biased and pretty left leaning. They're definitely showing so with who they invite and who they bring out as presenters. Brie Larson apparently is a big catch for them now. And I find it interesting too, because she was involved with Nintendo. She is getting pushed around as this big icon. She's in a lot of commercials. She was in that car commercial recently. I remember seeing that in the last year. And now she's advertising with Nintendo. She's getting with the video game audience. She's getting in with YouTube as well. YouTube has a channel for her, which they overly promote. She's just doing all this stuff. I don't know. I think she's trying to be cool and edgy and down with the kids, trying to be like the new rep, I think, for a Marvel kind of image, like the Captain Marvel Marvel thing is kind of like in the background. They're probably a main reason they want her to be getting around like this. And I think maybe some of it could be said as damage control. I think she's trying to reframe her image and make herself more likable, like get rid of that whole anti-male stuff from the Captain Marvel era that kind of backfired. But the movie still did extremely well. I mean, it made $1 billion. But the point is, there's other stuff going on here. The Game Awards are silly and woke. The Last of Us Part 2 doesn't deserve all these nominations. Brie Larson is a hack, and Gal Gadot is super hot and probably should get a pass for this. That about wraps things up. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Subscribe if you're new, and hit the bell for notifications too. And if you have the inclination to support this show further, please consider donating on patreon.com/nobullshit. Thanks for your time. See you on the next video.